Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that digs through, well, mountains of information to bring you the stuff that really matters. The surprising bits, the important details.
And today, we're looking at a story that it really hits close to home for many, I think. It's about the recent passing of talent manager Brandon Blackstock.
Yeah, exactly. We've gone through, well, a whole stack of sources, everything from, very personal family statements to those detailed celebrity reports. And our goal here really is to give you a clear picture, the circumstances around his death, his very, very private battle with cancer.
Which is a key element, that privacy.
Absolutely. And, the impact this has had on his family, obviously his ex-wife, Kelly Clarkson, their kids. We want to unpack these last few years, his relationships, that quiet strength he seemed to have,
Right.
and basically give you that shortcut so you're really up to speed on a story that, honestly, it reveals so much about public image versus private reality.
It really does. It's a powerful example of those unseen battles people fight.
Yeah.
Especially when they're connected, even indirectly, to the public eye.
Yeah.
And what's striking here, really, is how much of Brandon Blackstock's struggle just stayed completely private, right until the very end.
It's incredible, really.
And that level of privacy, it definitely shaped how people saw things, didn't it? It led to, well, speculation sometimes, when the truth was just hidden. We're going to try and trace that timeline, show how his illness sort of wove through some really public and sometimes pretty tumultuous parts of his life.
That's a really crucial way to look at it. Okay, so let's dive in. Where do we start? The news breaking.
Yeah, the initial announcement.
It was Thursday, August 7th, 2025. The official statement came from a rep for Brandon Blackstock and his family. Confirmed his death, age 48.
But the wording.
Exactly. It wasn't just, a standard announcement. The language told a story immediately. It signaled this long, private struggle. It specifically said he bravely battled cancer for more than 3 years.
Bravely battled. That stood out.
It did. And that he passed away peacefully and was surrounded by family. And then, crucially, that request for privacy. So for you listening, right away, this sets a very specific tone. This wasn't sudden. It was the end of a long fight, kept mostly out of sight. Kind of a quiet testament to his resilience, maybe.
It is. And the timing adds another layer, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It feels like the last piece falling into place because just the day before, Wednesday, August 6th, Kelly Clarkson herself made a public announcement.
Right, the Vegas residency.
Exactly. She announced she was postponing it. And her Instagram post, well, it gave this rare, though still kind of vague, glimpse into Brandon's health situation.
She said her children's father has been ill for the past year.
Yeah, and that she needed to be fully present for the kids, River, who's 11 now, and Remington, he's 9.
Which is huge coming from her. Kelly Clarkson is notoriously private, especially about the kids.
Fiercely private.
So for her to even hint at Brandon's illness, that told you something serious was happening. It felt like, in hindsight, the subtle foreshadowing of the news that broke less than a day later.
Absolutely. And then the details started trickling out, giving context to her message. Sources, TMZ included, confirmed he'd been fighting melanoma.
A really serious form of skin cancer.
Very serious. And TMZ specifically mentioned the duration as 3.5 years.
Which fits perfectly with the family statement, more than 3 years.
Exactly. So the timeline matches up. But it raises that big question, doesn't it? If he was battling this for 3.5 years, how on earth did they keep it so quiet? Especially with all the media attention.
Right, in this day and age.
Well, here's something that really surprised me from the sources. It turns out Kelly Clarkson's absences from her talk show, The Kelly Clarkson Show, earlier in 2024.
Oh, yeah, February, March, when they had Simu Liu, Wanda Sykes, Brooke Shields filling in.
Those very absences, sources revealed they were largely because of Brandon's illness. Yeah. And her staff kept it completely under wraps, out of respect, for the privacy, the gravity of it all.
That's incredible loyalty and discretion.
It really is. And it tells us this wasn't just something from the past year, as Kelly's initial post might have suggested. This was a much longer, much deeper struggle. It impacted everyone, Brandon, Kelly, the kids, for years, in ways we're only just starting to understand now.
So let's process that. For you listening, this means Brandon Blackstock was dealing with this intense private battle with a life-threatening illness for years. And crucially, this wasn't happening in a vacuum. This private struggle started and unfolded right alongside massive public upheaval in his life, that really contentious divorce from Kelly Clarkson.
Can you even imagine Facing a diagnosis like that while your divorce is playing out so publicly, the emotional toll.
It's almost unthinkable, and that timing is a critical piece of this whole story, isn't it? Because tracing the timeline shows just how deeply connected these things were.
It really does. And here's a key detail from pay sources. Brandon Blackstock was apparently diagnosed with cancer after the divorce from Kelly was finalized.
After March 2022.
That's what the sources suggest. So the diagnosis likely happened somewhere around late 2021, maybe early 2022.
Yeah.
Right as those really difficult, emotionally draining divorce proceedings were wrapping up.
So the end of one incredibly tough chapter leads straight into another, even more challenging private battle for his health.
Yeah. Talk about immense personal challenge layered onto an already very public, very stressful time. It's a lot to take in.
It really is. And you mentioned his desire for privacy. After the diagnosis, he made a significant life change that seems directly related to that. He moved back to Montana in 2022.
Right. Sources confirm that move was really driven by his health challenges. He was looking for a quieter, more private life while dealing with his illness.
So it wasn't just changing states. It was a deliberate retreat, trying to find some peace, some normalcy, maybe?
Seems like it. Getting away from the spotlight, back to a more rural setting, it speaks volumes about needing solace during such an incredibly tough period.
And that contrast between the private reality and what little the public saw is just stark. You mentioned a photo.
Oh, yeah. It's quite profound, really. Just weeks before he passed away in July 2025, his daughter Savannah shared this photo on Facebook.
Okay.
It shows Brandon smiling really broadly. He's in a wilderness setting, arm around her, looking totally relaxed. Savannah captioned it, "Back home to the mountains and my daddy."
So completely normal looking.
Absolutely. From the outside, you'd think nothing was wrong. He's even wearing Uggs, striking this kind of playful Captain Morgan-style pose.
Wow, that picture. It's such a powerful image, isn't it? Knowing what we know now.
Exactly.
To project that kind of cheerful, almost robust image just weeks before passing, while privately fighting advanced melanoma, it speaks volumes. About his strength, his determination, maybe the effort to shield his loved ones.
And the public, yeah. For you, the listener, it's just such a striking reminder, isn't it? What we see publicly, especially with figures linked to fame, it can be such a carefully managed facade, hiding these immense private battles.
Makes you wonder about the toll of keeping that up, doesn't it? Maintaining that appearance while dealing with something so serious.
You've hit on something really important there. It's not just resilience. Maybe it's also that intense pressure public figures feel to control the narrative.
Right.
It creates this huge gap between what the world sees and what's really happening. And maybe for Brandon, especially after such a public divorce, maybe that facade felt like a necessary form of protection, not just for him, but for his kids too.
It makes a lot of sense. And that private strength, that resilience, it was clearly supported by his family connections, right? That network of support seems crucial here.
Absolutely. Beyond his health, his life was just so interwoven with his family. That brings us to the people around him.
Okay, so let's talk about his family. He was a father to 4 children.
Right. 2 from his first marriage to Melissa Ashworth, which ended back in 2012. That's his daughter Savannah and his son Seth.
And then, of course, the 2 younger children he shared with Kelly Clarkson, daughter River Rose, born June 12, 2014.
So she's 11 now.
And son Remington Remy Alexander, born April 12, 2016.
He's 9.
And there's another layer to his family life in these later years, isn't there? He became a grandfather.
Yes, which is really poignant. Savannah, his eldest, welcomed her first child, a son named Lake, back in January 2022.
So right around the time of his diagnosis, potentially?
It seems likely, yeah. Making him a first-time granddad right as his health battle was intensifying. And then Savannah, she got married to Quentin Lee in September 2023.
Okay.
And just announced in July 2025, literally a month before Brandon passed, that they're expecting their second child. Little girl, due in January 2026.
Wow. So he knew he was going to be a grandfather again. That must have brought some joy amidst everything.
You'd have to think so. A grandfather twice over before he died. It definitely adds another dimension to his final years.
And his kids, they seem like quite distinct individuals. Savannah, the eldest, obviously have a very close relationship with him.
Definitely. She was quite public about it. Shared that sweet father-daughter ski trip photo in 2018, called him her favorite person in 2019. You get a real sense of their bond. And she's built her own career, too, working in real estate.
And then Seth, his son from the first marriage.
He seems to lead a more private life, generally.
Yeah.
But he was still part of the family fabric, you know. Popped up at the Ugly Dolls premiere with everyone in 2019. And he joined in that surprise birthday video for Kelly in April 2020. So connected, just quieter.
Okay. And then River Rose, his daughter with Kelly, she sounds like a real character.
Oh, absolutely. Kelly's described her as ballsy, really independent, joked she'd run a company one day.
I can imagine.
River even inspired Kelly's children's book, River Rose and the Magical Lullaby. And she's featured on Kelly's chemistry album.
And she performs with Kelly too, right?
Yeah, multiple times, including a duet of Heartbeat Song just recently in July 2025. She seems really comfortable in that world.
Incredible. Performing with her mom just weeks before her dad passed. That's heavy.
It is. And then there's Remington Alexander. Kelly said he was initially kind of unaware of her fame, which is a funny contrast to River.
A bit more grounded, maybe.
Perhaps. But he's had his moments in the spotlight, too. Joined Kelly on stage as a backup dancer, attended the Grammys with her in February 2024.
I remember seeing pictures. He looked very sharp in that red velvet suit.
He did, and here's a really sweet detail.
Mm-hmm.
He surprised Kelly recently with a performance of Frank Sinatra's My Way.
No way!
Yeah, Kelly actually played it for her talk show audience back in November 2024. It really paints this vivid picture of these kids, doesn't it? Unique personalities, strong connections to both parents, navigating this complex family situation.
It really does. And speaking of Kelly, despite how difficult the divorce was, acrimonious is the word often used. It seems her focus was entirely on the kids when it came to Brandon's illness. Sources say she was devastated for them when she found out.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And more than just devastated, she actively remained protective of him for their sake. That's a direct quote from sources.
Protective of him, even after everything.
For the kids' sake, yeah. And that she always tried to keep things classy, never speaking badly about him to River and Remy.
That takes incredible maturity, putting the kids' emotional health above any personal feelings from the divorce.
It really does. And she's been quite open about trying to be honest with the kids about the divorce itself, letting them feel sad about their parents not being in the same house, validating their huge feelings, as she put it.
And there was that revealing comment she made, wasn't there, about whether she still loved Brandon.
Oh, right. When the kids asked her, she apparently said, no, I don't know if that goes away.
Which is so nuanced. It speaks to those complex, lingering ties, doesn't it? Especially with shared children. Even after a painful split, that history, that connection through the kids, it doesn't just vanish.
Exactly. It shows that even when the romantic love is gone, there's still something there, a bond forged by parenthood that persists.
And this web of family connections, it goes even wider, involving some very famous names. Reba McEntire, for instance.
Ah, Reba. Yes, a really significant figure here. She was Brandon's former stepmother, married to his dad, Brandon Blackstock, from 1989 to 2015.
A long time.
A very long time. And Reba famously didn't really use the term stepchildren for Brandon and his sisters, Chastity and Shauna. She said, I claim them all.
Yeah.
Love Brandon like he's my blood.
That's incredibly warm and inclusive, real chosen family vibes.
Totally. And it wasn't just talk. That connection held strong. Reba stayed close with both Brandon and Kelly, even after her own divorce from Narvel and then Kelly's divorce from Brandon.
They would text regularly, right? Kelly mentioned that. It shows real mutual respect despite all the shift.
It does. And there's that picture, too. Really powerful visual evidence. Just months before Brandon died, March 2024, he's posing with River and Remy, his brother Shelby, and Reba herself at the Houston Rodeo.
That photo says so much about enduring family ties, doesn't it? Through all the drama, all the changes, that core connection remained.
It really seems that way. Speaking of Shelby, Brandon's half-brother, Narvel, and Reba's son.
Yes.
He shared just this incredibly heartfelt, raw tribute on Instagram the day after Brandon passed, August 8th.
I saw that. It was very moving.
Wasn't it? The emotion just came through so clearly. He wrote, words cannot begin to capture the tremendous loss our family has endured. Yesterday we lost a brother, a father, a grandfather, and a son. And he called Brandon an irreplaceable part of our family, funny, bright, and full of life.
You could really feel the love and the loss. He also mentioned Brandon teaching him things, leaving memories.
Yeah, and then that classic brotherly touch right at the end.
Brotherly jab. Yeah.
Saying Brandon would have to watch him from above, doing things just a little better, a little smoother, and let's be honest, looking far more handsome.
It was that mix of deep grief and gentle humor that felt so real, so authentic to his sibling relationship.
Exactly. It humanized the loss so much. Right. And his post included that collage of photos, too. Brandon on a horse, the brothers hugging, pictures with Narvel, that Houston rodeo shot. It really underscored that beneath all the public stuff, there was this deeply loving family unit.
Definitely. And we should briefly mention the father, Narville Blackstock. He's a big name in music management himself.
Huge name. Founded Starstruck Entertainment back in '88. Managed huge artists like Blake Shelton.
And he managed Kelly before Brandon did, right?
That's right. Which just highlights again how intertwined family and business were in their world. It's the environment Brandon grew up in, the legacy he inherited and built upon. These deep personal connections were clearly central, even amidst all the professional and romantic complexities. Which I guess brings us to that most public entanglement, his relationship with Kelly.
Yeah, it's fascinating how these high-profile stories often start in relatively quiet, almost fateful ways. Let's rewind to how Brandon and Kelly first met, because that story is pretty wild.
It really is. May 2006. Kelly first saw Brandon at a rehearsal for the Academy of Country Music Awards.
And she had this immediate reaction.
Instantaneous. She's quoted as saying, "I'm going to end up with him. I know it."
Even though he was married at the time.
Yep. She described this incredibly strong connection, almost physical. "I was ready to take it all off," she said. Feeling that kind of intense attraction for the first time. It speaks to some serious chemistry right off the bat.
Undeniable, yeah. But it took a while for them to actually get together.
It did. Several years later, February 5th, 2012, they reconnected at Super Bowl XL VI. Kelly was singing the national anthem.
Okay.
And at that point, Narville, Brandon's dad, was still Kelly's manager. And Brandon was managing Blake Shelton, who was also performing.
Small world.
Very small world. And Kelly joked afterwards that she was actually more nervous about impressing Brandon, who was watching backstage, than singing for, the millions watching the game.
Huh. The pressure was on, even then. So their first actual date happens soon after.
Just days later, February 11th, 2012. And here's that strange detail Kelly mentioned.
Oh, the Whitney Houston connection.
Yeah. Their first date was the exact day Whitney Houston died. Kelly called it a bad omen.
Wow. That's memorable, I guess. Didn't stop him, though.
Clearly not. The relationship took off pretty quickly after that. They got engaged in December 2012.
And Kelly was ecstatic on Twitter, right? Happiest night of my life.
She was,
Sure.
and she shared that funny detail about the proposal itself. She was totally surprised, wearing Uggs and a sweatshirt with no bra. Very relatable.
Huh, love that.
Right.
And they got married the following year.
October 20, 2013, at Blackberry Farms in Tennessee. Beautiful, intimate wedding.
And then the kids came fairly quickly. River Rose in June 2014, Remy in April 2016.
Yep, building their family. And alongside the personal, that professional partnership really solidified, didn't it?
Right. Brandon became her manager, taking over from Narville, and he was the one who pushed her to do the talk show.
He was instrumental in that, yeah. The Kelly Clarkson show, which obviously became huge, Kelly really praised his business mind, said his mind really does work in a completely different way. They clearly had this synergy.
But they tried to keep some boundaries, separate offices, taking vacations.
They did. They acknowledged the need for me time, trying to balance that intense overlap between work and home life. But as we know, that balance eventually proved really difficult to maintain.
Yeah, that deep professional connection ultimately became a huge source of conflict, didn't it, leading up to the divorce?
It seems like it was a major factor. Kelly filed for divorce June 4th, 2020, after almost 7 years of marriage, cited irreconcilable differences.
And she initially asked for joint custody, but also wanted to block spousal support for Blackstock.
That was the initial filing, yes. Sources at the time suggested the relationship just hasn't been working for a while. That nonstop work collaboration, being together constantly in both personal and professional settings, had become a real contention.
That makes sense. It sounds exhausting.
And there's that other reported factor, too, Kelly wanting more kids and Brandon apparently not sharing that desire. So a mix of professional strain and different life goals, it seems.
And the divorce itself was, well, it was messy, very public, very drawn out.
Extremely. And custody became a major battleground. By November 2020, Kelly was awarded primary physical custody of River and Remy. The judge specifically cited increased conflict and issues of trust between the parents.
Which tells you how difficult things had become behind the scenes. And the financial side was intense, too.
Oh, yeah. Huge figures being thrown around. Blackstock initially sought massive monthly payments for spousal and child support, hundreds of thousands.
The judge lowered those amounts, but Kelly still ended up paying a very significant combined sum each month, right?
Correct. Around $200,000 a month combined for a time. It highlighted the substantial financial stakes involved.
And then there's a whole fight over the Montana ranch, that massive property.
That $17.75 million ranch, yeah. That was a big point of contention. Kelly was awarded ownership in October 2021 based on their prenup.
But it wasn't quite that simple.
No. To settle that specific fight, she ended up agreeing in January 2022 to give Brandon a 5.12% ownership interest, which worked out to just over $900,000.
Wow. So the divorce was finally finalized when? March 2020.
March 2022, end of the marriage, legally. The settlement included Kelly paying Brandon a one-time lump sum of $1.3 million.
On top of the ongoing support payments.
Exactly. Spousal support continued until January 2024, child support ongoing, and the division of assets was incredibly detailed.
I remember reading about that, down to the cars and simulators.
Literally. Kelly got the pets, a Ford Bronco, an F-250, a Porsche Cayenne, even a flight simulator. Brandon got farm cattle, livestock, stock dogs, horses, other vehicles like an F-350, an F-250, an ATV, snowmobiles, a golf simulator, and Patek Philippe watches.
It's just the cold accounting of a life shared, isn't it? Item by item. Shows how thoroughly intertwined their lives were and how complex disentangling them became.
It really does. And even after the divorce was final, there was still that lingering lawsuit over commissions.
Right. The one where the labor commissioner got involved.
Yeah. November 2023, the ruling came down. The commissioner found Blackstock had overstepped his role as a manager by booking deals for Kelly that legally required a licensed talent agent.
Like the Voice deal.
Exactly. That was a big one, nearly $2 million in commission. Also deals with Norwegian Cruise Line, Wayfair, and even a small commission from the Billboard Music Awards. He was ordered to pay back over $2.6 million to Kelly.
That is a huge amount of money, a major finding against him professionally.
It was. And it highlighted those blurred lines again between manager and agent roles. Blackstock did file an appeal initially.
But they settled it eventually.
Seems so. In May 2024, both sides filed to dismiss the case, indicating they'd reached some kind of confidential settlement, putting that final, very contentious piece of their professional split to rest.
You just have to imagine the toll all of this took on Kelly personally. She was pretty open about how hard it was.
Extremely open. She described the divorce period as extraordinarily hard, said she was just crying, like, a lot.
And her album, Chemistry, was clearly part of processing that.
Definitely. She called it a healthy outlet, a way of taking my power back. You can really hear the raw emotion, the pain, the anger, the eventual strength in those songs. It was like her therapy, played out publicly.
She also talked about her ego keeping her in the marriage longer than maybe she should have.
Yeah, feeling like she could handle so much that she could reach this person. And, being a child of divorce herself, that deep desire not to have her own kids go through that, not wanting them to be those kids at school.
That's such a relatable fear for so many people.
Absolutely. But she said she eventually realized that being selfish, prioritizing her own well-being, was important to escape feeling limited and unhappy in the marriage.
And she wasn't shy about expressing that hurt musically, changing lyrics.
Oh, yeah. Famously tweaking Gail's ABCTE to be way more direct, Frank, you and your dad, and the fact that you got half.
Oof. No holding back there.
None at all. And reworking her own song piece by piece, it went from this beautiful tribute to Brandon about him being the reliable father figure her own dad wasn't,
to an anthem about her own strength and relying on herself for her kids, right? Implying he hadn't lived up to that promise.
Precisely. It was a powerful musical statement about reclaiming her narrative. And the changes weren't just musical. She made huge life changes, too.
The move to New York.
Big one. Relocating her talk show, her whole family, from LA to NYC in early 2023. She said it was the change that her and her kids needed for more of a life.
And stepping away from The Voice was part of that, too?
Seems like it. She admitted she just couldn't smile anymore, felt like she needed help, even took Lexapro for a bit. It paints a picture of someone really needing a fundamental reset.
And even recently, she's talked about the challenges of co-parenting, right? The double standards for working moms.
Yeah, that sarcastic comment about co-parenting is fun. It highlights those ongoing complexities and maybe some lingering frustrations. It all just underscores the immense scrutiny and the private pain that often go hand in hand for public figures going through something like this.
So looking back at Brandon Blackstock himself, beyond the marriage and the divorce, what picture emerges?
Well, based on the family tributes, especially Shelby's, you consistently hear descriptions like funny, bright, and full of life.
Right.
Professionally, who's clearly successful, followed his dad into talent management, handled big names like Blake Shelton, Rascal Flatts. He had his own achievements there.
And that passion for rodeo, founding his own rodeo event.
The Valley View Rodeo in 2023, yeah. That points to something deeply personal, a connection to his roots maybe beyond the music business. So the sources suggest this complex guy, deeply connected to family, dedicated to his work, passionate about his interests, and someone who fought this incredibly difficult battle privately with real courage.
And the family's grief, seeing it play out publicly, it's been very revealing.
It has. Shelby's tribute, especially, showed this strong family unit mourning together despite their complicated history and Kelly's actions.
Postponing the residency, those earlier absences.
Yeah, combined with what sources say about her private feelings, being heartbroken for the kids, but also protective of him, it just illustrates those really complex, sometimes contradictory emotions that linger after a tough divorce, especially when children are the bridge.
It shows those family bonds, even fractured ones, can still hold immense power, especially in the face of loss.
Definitely. This whole story, I think, it gives us this really powerful look at grief, especially grief under a microscope. How public figures navigate that immense personal pain while trying to keep things together. And how relationships, even ones that ended badly, can retain these deep, lasting emotional threads, particularly for the children's sake.
Yeah, it really challenges you to look past the headlines, doesn't it? To think about the hidden realities, the unseen battles.
It really does. Urges a kind of deeper empathy, maybe.
Brandon Blackstock's life, and particularly its quiet, courageous end. It really throws into focus how much we don't see, especially when someone's facing huge personal challenges, like a years-long fight with cancer. His journey and how everyone close to him reacted, his kids, his brother Reba, Kelly. It makes you, the listener, really think, doesn't it, about the privacy we give people, or maybe the privacy we don't give them, and about how strong those family bonds can be, even when they've been strained or broken by separation, especially when facing life's ultimate end.
It's a powerful thought to leave with. The enduring impact of those connections, seen and unseen.